Hello everyone, my name is Gabby and today is a really big milestone for me. On this day last year, March 20th, 2015, I uploaded my very first YouTube video. And in that I included probably the best quote ever. I doubt anyone is going to actually watch my reactions. So I've officially been doing YouTube for 1 year. I've got to say, if you told me that a year ago, I would have said you were being crazy. I mean, come on, me? I am known for being really, really lazy at things. Are you seriously saying that I made a full-on, kind of a lot of work having to go into a YouTube channel for 1 year, keeping an almost pretty much weekly update schedule? I would have said you're going crazy. Come on, I would never put that amount of motivation into anything. Not even a YouTube channel. But it's true. I've done a YouTube channel for over 1 year now, and I have 3,500 subscribers. It's kind of crazy and ridiculous, and I never expected anything like this to happen. So partly in celebration for my 1 year of YouTube, and partly because I'm the kind of person who really likes sort of archiving my own personal experiences so I don't forget them, I'm going to go through the entirety of my first year, my first YouTube experience year, and just go through everything from the origins to what happened and how I've gotten more popular and where I am now. So to start, I'd been wanting to do a YouTube channel for quite a while. Not really for any particular reason, more just I'd seen other YouTube videos and I thought that not only were they cool, and it wasn't even just that they got popular, but just these videos were just really cool ideas. Just the way people put in their opinions and some of the things they put in I thought were just really cool ideas. To just get your opinions, put them on a video, make them actually look good and look appealing, and have people actually comment on them and look at them and say I actually really liked them. YouTube's been a thing that I think a lot of people have always been thinking, it's the kind of dream you sort of think oh, I want to make a YouTube channel, in the sort of way that oh, I want to draw a comic book, or I want to make a little short film or something. But YouTube was obviously a lot more accessible than those things. Anyway, I was thinking about the first idea that I actually thinking about of having for a YouTube channel. I was originally going to make a Pretty Cure channel. If you don't know what Pretty Cure is, you don't follow me on enough social media. Pretty Cure is a magical girl franchise. I did a video about it once. I talk about it a lot on my Tumblr, and I talk about it on Twitter as well sometimes. Basically, I wanted to do I was sort of inspired by Linkara's History of Power Rangers, and I wanted to do something a bit similar like that, and I was thinking about doing a Pretty Cure retrospective, just going through all the seasons, because after all, Pretty Cure has very similar kind of formula and ideas to Tokusatsu, which is where Super Sentai and then Power Rangers come from. So you could sort of use a similar format. But that idea kind of faded away when I realized, well, one, I cared a lot more about the later seasons of Pretty Cure than the earlier ones. I didn't really care too much about reviewing the earlier seasons. And two, most importantly, besides the first season got an English dub, but besides that, none of them have ever gotten an official English release. And no, you can't really talk about Glitter Force, because that's completely different from Pretty Cure. You can't really make that a Pretty Cure retrospective, and there's only one season of Glitter Force. But yeah, basically, I realized that if I was going to do a season, sort of reviewing different seasons of Pretty Cure, I would have to rely mostly on fan subs, and I realized that that's not particularly accurate to try if you're trying to convey an entire message of a season, if you're just relying on someone's fan subs. So that idea kind of fell through. But I was still kind of wanted to do Pretty Cure videos on YouTube because, Pretty Cure is a pretty small fandom because it's a show that's only really fan subbed, of course, and it's also a magical girl show, so it's not particularly that big. And I thought, that's a niche there. Not many people do Pretty Cure videos. There's not a Pretty Cure channel where they just talk all about that. And I actually did record a vlog about me reviewing the first episode of Go Princess Pretty Cure. Just so you know, I recorded that vlog and I scrapped it because it was terrible. And if you look at some of my earlier videos, so for me to say that video was terrible, it was pretty bad, let me just say. I just kind of just meandered around, I had no point, and maybe one day I will release it and show you guys a bit of it, just to show everyone starts somewhere, even if it's for something really, really stupid. But as for how I got into, well, my reaction videos, see, I think the origin of that, it kind of came from around the middle of 2015, when I was Dragon Ball Z was kind of my guilty pleasure, and then I ended up sort of watching and seeing the entirety of the Gohan versus Cell fight. And like now I'm thinking about it, I think the first version I watched was like the Funimation dub, and I did really like it, but it wasn't like, it didn't really like resonate with me until I think what happened is, I think that night I had a dream about it, and then sometimes when you have a dream about it and you wake up, and then your experiences of that scene are like completely different because of that dream. So that kind of happened to me, and so that day, the day after that or something, I was looking it up, and then I ended up watching like the Japanese version with Unmei no Hi, and I was watching all the other stuff about like Gohan going Super Saiyan 2 and defeating Cell. And yeah, I've said this before, I think in other videos, but let me just say, it really got to be. Like, when I watched that scene, it just really, like, deeply connected to me in a really deeply emotional level. Like, it turned me into a literal nervous wreck for about a day. Like, I was actually kind of, like, my heart was racing. It was really weird. And I honestly, I've spent pretty much ever since that moment, I've been trying to work out why it resonated with me so badly and why it emotionally affected me just so much. Because, you know, it's a fictional character on a screen, and yet it was making me like feel nervous and tense, and like, I don't even know, it just made me, it was just made me feel something. And so it made me really interested in just how media can affect you. Like, it can really, because, you know, you can watch these things and they're like, they could be like a watershed moment in your life. They can change things. And sometimes, you know, for fictional characters doing fictional things can change you and emotionally affect you. And I just find that so interesting. It's probably what really got me into trying to do more stuff about media studies in my university degree. So basically, you know, I was really interested in that idea of just how media affects people, how what you watch affects people, and also what your reactions to something are. Considering I'm also, as I said earlier on this video, I'm this kind of person who really likes archiving my personal experiences. So, you know, like when something happens, I really want to know, you know, what I felt at that moment. It's why sometimes I do blog posts about things and, you know, journal entries, and basically nowadays I don't like throwing things out because I feel like they're sort of some of my memories, and it's kind of what probably it's gonna make me a hoarder when I end up becoming much older. But yeah, I just really like archiving my own first personal experiences of things that just really affect me. Because yeah, when I'm thinking about it, you know, I wish I had a camera on me to record my reaction to watching Unmei no Hi. I really wish I could have seen that. And so that's kind of where I got this idea from. I mean, it was sort of that, and the fact I had seen reactions of Team 4 Star's Dragon Ball Z Abridged on YouTube. I don't know how, I think YouTube probably made a suggested video to me once or twice, and so I saw them and I'm like, this is such a cool idea. Just like, yeah, just recording your first raw reaction to something like this. Something that you know you're going to watch like 5 million times afterwards, to the point that you know all of the lines off by heart and it will stop affecting you, right? But for the first reaction where you don't know what's going to happen, and something could shock you, something could surprise you, something could make you feel like it's just awesome and badass and whatever. So that's why I just kind of felt like it's like a social experiment. Like, this is like my social experiment to see, you know, how do I actually react to an episode of Dragon Ball Z Abridged for the first time when I don't know anything about it. So basically actually technically probably about March 19th or March 18th, 2015, Team 4 Star's History of Trunks to Bridge came out, and I decided to record my reaction to it. And then when the episode actually came out on YouTube, I decided to do what some of the other people did and just kind of put the video on, and then just like to sort of sync it up to my reaction, and then just upload onto YouTube. I thought nobody was going to watch it because, you know, when you know YouTube is an enormous place. If you throw something out into the ether, you're not expecting like one person or two people, or you're not expecting anyone to actually see it. But then something happened. People watched it. A lot of people watched it. Like, I was surprised by how many views I got, you know, hundreds and then eventually thousands of views. And I'm like, what? But this was just something I just did. Like, it's terrible. I didn't even realize, like, only later on did I realize that I probably could have split the picture and the video in a better way. Like, why are people watching this? And people are liking this. And people are saying they want to see more. And people are subscribing to me. And I was like, wow, this actually has an audience? this thing I did as a social experiment, people actually want to watch it and want to see more of it. So that like really surprised me and also kind of made me feel kind of, thrilled that people enjoyed my stuff and wanted to see more. So, really after that an enormous reaction to that first video, reaction to my reaction video, I mean, how could I not do more? Of course, at this point, I already knew that I wasn't going to react to like TV shows and stuff, and like most of the abridged series, I'd watched all of like the newest episodes. So until another episode of Dragon Ball Z Abridged came out, I didn't really have anything to react to, so I thought, now that I have an audience, I might as well just like do those vlogs about every random thing that comes into my head that if I just want to say it on a video instead of just thinking in my head, then I can do that now because I have subscribers, I have an audience, people might actually be interested. And so I thought, okay, well, I'll just do whatever the hell comes into my mind, and yeah, like that's my video. My video will just be whatever is in my mind at that moment that I think about, that I'll just make a video about. And because I thought I was in this kind of Dragon Ball Z phase, inverted commas, I thought I'd grow out of it. Well, not grow out of it, I thought I'd sort of like get into something else afterwards. But, at that point, I was like still sort of, thinking about Dragon Ball Z all the time. So I'm like, oh, I'll just do some videos about Dragon Ball Z. So first I did a video about Resurrection F and sort of my predictions and hopes and stuff. It's not very good. Then I did a video about like Goku's character and how people were like, it was triggered by some Kanzenshu interviews that they'd recently translated at that time about where Toriyama says that Goku is basically not supposed to be this morally correct hero. And I'm like, oh, so that was intentional. So Toriyama was saying that Goku wasn't supposed to be morally correct. And so that was like kind of a sort of like light bulb moment for me where I realized that was the author's original intention. So I was so excited, I made a video about it. Then Vegito EX, one of the guys from Kanzenshu, actually might have ended up seeing it, I think, because we worked this out later on, some people and I worked this out, probably because I linked to Kanzenshu in the video, and through that, since he's like the webmaster of the website, he got to see that, and then he saw, I don't know if he actually watched the video, but he saw the description where I talked about the Kanzenshu forum as being kind of really negative, which they still kind of are, to be honest, but, anyways, but like so that made me really excited because of like, oh my god, it's like the senpais are noticing me, seeing me, what's going on. Yeah, I know I'm using anime lingo. After that, I did a video about how I got into Dragon Ball Z because I feel like it was a thing that eventually people would just keep asking me because, oh, come on, Gabby, you're a girl, and why are you into Dragon Ball Z, and what happened? Did you watch it on Toonami? Did you watch it on this thing? What happened? And since my experience is a little bit different, and I watched Dragon Ball Z Abridged first, and then I watched Dragon Ball Z, so, I thought like that, once again, because I like archiving my personal experiences, so I said, I'm gonna do this now when everything's sort of fresh in my head so I can remember it all. And so if I want to remember how I got into the series, I'll look back on this video and I'll just do that. After that, I did a random vlog about when I was really excited about some things I was doing in university. It was a pretty crappy video, but I talked a little bit about Team 4-Star in it. Basically just how they kind of exemplify like what's new about media right now. Then I did a whole bunch of videos about before we knew about Dragon Ball Super, about like if there was going to be another Dragon Ball Z movie, what would it be about? And then kind of just sort of thinking about maybe I would run out of steam about things to talk about. Then they announced Dragon Ball Super. And I was like really hyped, and also at the same time I'm like, this means one, I'm probably not going to get out of Dragon Ball Z because now there's this new series we're going to be talking about. And two, so if Dragon Ball Super is coming out, then maybe I could like do weekly reviews of it. I mean, it was a few months before it came out, but that was just something I was thinking about, and that's something that still kind of ended up becoming the case. Then a few more episodes of Dragon Ball Z Abridged came out, and when I reacted to them, my channel would always get just massive boosts in popularity. I mean, the other interesting thing about my channel is the growth has really been always been pretty consistent. It grows at a somewhat slow rate, and then every time I upload a new reaction to Dragon Ball Z Abridged, it just jumps up, like, a lot, and then it goes, like, slowly goes down a bit, and then it just sort of settles down. And it always settles down to about the same rate. But around this time, basically around this time, once I started getting a lot of views and also realizing that people like my stuff and I have a channel, I have an audience now, and like a few months ago, I sort of did, like once I got 200 subscribers, I did this sort of, I might link to it, I did a post on my Tumblr blog where I just sort of talked about, just kind of complaining about how I actually don't really like some of the other YouTube channels who do some of the stuff I do. Like I said, I don't really like the other reaction channels because they don't really care or know that much about the things they're reacting to sometimes. Like I always used to say, I like, what made my Dragon Ball Z abridged reactions different is that like I practically know all the episodes off by heart. So and now I also know a whole bunch of stuff on like the Japanese version and all the like in-depth fandom jokes. So I can basically understand most of the jokes where some people don't. They just think, oh, that's funny, and not like, oh, that's a reference to episode 41. So there was that, and I'm like, yeah, I don't really like the other reaction videos, and I also I didn't like the fact that they reacted to television programs like Steven Universe, which I'm like, that is so illegal. Oh my god, that is so illegal. That's also, guys, that's why I don't react to One Punch Man, despite like half of YouTube seemingly asking me to react to One Punch Man, because that is basically illegal. At least if I put the video on in the corner, that is basically illegal because that's piracy. That is piracy. Anyway, so there's that, and then I also talked about like, oh, I don't really like the other Dragon Ball Z YouTubers. This is not a secret. I've actually shown some of the other Dragon Ball Z YouTubers this post, and because it was basically saying, I'd seen some of the Dragon Ball Z YouTube channels. I'd actually looked at a lot of them before I even started my own YouTube channel. Like basically like the usual old ones, like basically Qaaman's Land and Black and Fist and like Rhyme Style. Like I looked at those. Pretty much those were like the three I really sort of saw videos of. And I'm like, yeah, I don't really like that much of their stuff. Honestly, I liked Black and Fist stuff. I liked his stuff. I thought his stuff was pretty great. But like Qaaman and Rhyme Style, and I was just like some of these other people like Thundershot and whatever, the ones who like did things and also like video games and stuff, and I was just like, I don't really like your stuff, because a lot of the time they did like either sort of, what ifs or power level debates, things that I do not care about at all, or they did like discussion videos, which was basically just them sitting around talking, like with some gameplay footage in the background and not actually answering the question, just kind of meandering around and being like, yeah, let's just talk about Dragon Ball, I guess. And I was like, yeah, I mean, this is alright, I guess. And I mean, I know it's just not intending to be professional, but I'm like, why don't we ever talk about things like, say, like out of universe stuff? Like, why don't we talk about what's Toriyama's intentions? What was he thinking? What were like editorial pressures on him? What was influencing him? What was he said to be influenced by? Why did these things exist? Not just like looking at things in universe. Like in universe is sort of like, what if? Say like, oh yeah, what if Goku had killed Frieza with the Spirit Bomb? How would the series progress through here? And that's just kind of, your own headcanons, you do whatever, you think about within the context of the universe. But I thought it was a lot more interesting to talk about things in an out-of-universe perspective. Just talking about talking about like his influences and like, what caused this to happen. Not in terms of just the plot, but in terms of like, the author's intentions. I thought that was really interesting, and I thought that was something that was kind of missing from a lot of these like Dragon Ball Z channels. So I decided to just do a bunch of series like that, and I just called it Dragon Ball Misconceptions. I talked about things, and I just talked about things, and I tried to answer them not in a just sort of like, not in an in-universe perspective, but an out-of-universe perspective. So my first one was just who was supposed to be the main character. And, you could just say like, obviously, the answer is it was Goku, then it was Gohan, then it was changed back to Goku again. But I think the thing that made me like justify this video, what made it interesting to me, was when I was realizing something I didn't realize, that throughout the Majin Buu saga, the obvious, when you realize it, it was the obvious intent was to bring Gohan back into the spotlight and for him to become the main character after being taken away from the plot and after not training and everything. But then at some point Toriyama changed his mind, like you can see, and you can also see it's a very rushed last-minute decision, which also explains why there's a lot of just random plot elements just thrown out there to try and just sort of justify Gohan being out of the action and Goku and Vegeta being in the action. It was actually somewhat inspired by a post on the Dragon Ball Z subreddit. Basically just people were just talking about misconceptions about the series, and I'm like, oh, people don't really have YouTube videos talking about stuff like this. So I'm gonna do it because no one else seems to have done it before, so I'll do it. And I mean, the misconception was pretty well received. It helps that I ended up posting it on Reddit, but that wasn't necessarily because, I wanted to plug my own video, but also just because, Reddit got help with, giving me, images to use, the manga panels and stuff like that. So I showed that on Reddit, and so it got kind of popular there. I got a lot of views. Not necessarily retention time, because people just sort of click the video and then leave within the first 2 minutes, but, that's not such a big deal. But either way, it got pretty popular, and I really enjoyed doing a Dragon Ball Z content video, like I did with that video about Goku's character. So I'm like, I could do more of this. This could be fun. So I did, one more Dragon Ball Misconception. Obviously, I was still doing more live reactions to Team 4-Star and live reactions to some random other things like the Nintendo digital event for the E3, which was kind of a disappointment. So, but whatever. And just random things, and then I did a little vlog about before Dragon Ball Super started, where I basically pretty accurately predicted a lot of the issues people were going to have with Dragon Ball Super, and I was just sort of saying, everyone please delay your judgment on this, especially when you go the first 2 episodes and you start complaining, just wait. Obviously that's not really the case anymore, but then Dragon Ball Super started, and then I started doing those weekly reviews, and the first weekly reviews were pretty whatever. I didn't really know what I was doing. I kind of had a format, but it was a lot of just me kind of ranting about random things, and I think my reviews have gotten a lot better since then. But either way, I was doing Dragon Ball Super reviews, and I'm like, that was a good weekly update schedule thing for me. So, between those reviews and the Team 4-Star reactions, I'm like, this is good. And I might do another random Dragon Ball Z video if an idea comes into my head. But besides that, this is good. I like what I'm doing right now. It's not too time consuming. It's still fun. And I want to do these Dragon Ball Super reviews because I want to see what I think of the show every single episode. And even though we found out we're starting with movie retellings, I still ended up doing these reviews because I didn't want to just stop, because it would have, obviously we realized it took about 6 months for us to start getting new material. So I ended up doing those super reviews. I've still managed to do them every single week, and at that point everything seemed pretty comfortable. And this was around the time I started getting introduced to the other Dragon Ball Z YouTubers. I think it pretty much started, the first person was pretty much Geekdom 101, or Danny. We might as well just say that, because we're, we are real people and not just faces behind a computer screen and voices behind a screen. We're real people, so let's call them by their real names. Danny. So basically, I'd seen Danny's channel a few times. I think YouTube recommending his channels to me. So I was it was on the recommended channels list. So sometimes I saw it a few times. And his videos were kind of interesting in that, on the one hand, I didn't like how he sometimes kind of seemed to belittle other people. I know there was a video, he did these videos about blue versus red, who was stronger, and he's like, oh, this is stronger, and if you don't think so, then you're effing retarded. And I'm like, don't say that. Don't say that to your fan base. That's not very nice. But either way, but I did find his videos very interesting, because he was the first Dragon Ball Z YouTuber who not only acknowledged the Japanese version and knew that it existed and looked at that for facts, but also kind of actively seemed to preach to everyone to actually watch the Japanese version, because it's actually quite different. And I'm like, oh wow, that's actually kind of cool. That's a little bit different. I didn't know there were fans like that on YouTube, the sort of Japanese version fans who were also making videos, as opposed to just Funimation dub fans who were making videos based on the dub and the things they watched on Toonami and their orange bricks and their whatevers. So I thought that was interesting, and in the end, I got a Twitter account. It was the same Twitter account that I'd made when I was 13, and I only used it about once, which is why my username for my Twitter isn't actually Mozilla Vulpix. It's Now I'm Bored, because at that point, I didn't really know, like, I didn't think about getting a new one because I already had that one that was related to my email, and I'm like, I like the username, I can't be bothered changing it. So it's still now I'm bored to this day. But I made that Twitter account just pretty much just so I could follow all the Team 4-star guys on their Twitters, because, you know, like that way I can like get the first updates and find out when like episodes are being processed and handled and what the, like, you know, random things that they were proud of. So like that was pretty much why I made my Twitter account. But in the end, I ended up following Danny as well on his Twitter. And I think through that, he found me and he found my channel and my videos. And so he commented on like one or two of them and he said that he really enjoyed them. And I'm like, oh my god, whoa, there's another YouTuber on my videos talking about how he likes my videos. What? That's, whoa, crazy. That's awesome. And I'm like, oh, that's awesome. Basically, that was just me. I'm just like, that's awesome. You like my stuff. Someone who also does YouTube videos, who does actually Dragon Ball Z YouTube videos, likes my stuff. It's like the senpais have noticed me. I can die happy now. So at that point, eventually, I think Danny following me on Twitter, and we kind of sort of started communicating as well, sort of. And then at one point, I'm like, you know, like he seems to like know all the people. Like if I could do like a collab, I could like do a collaboration video with him. So I like messaged him. I did like a direct message on Twitter, and I'm like, oh, maybe we can do a video about say Gohan's role in Dragon Ball Super, because that's the thing I have a lot to talk about. That's the thing I feel like a lot of people could talk about and have different opinions on. And yeah, I feel like that could be an interesting video. He said, oh yeah, sure. I'll totally do that. Well, no, I think first I was like, oh, can I do that video? And he's like, oh, I'm like, I know you know some of the guys, so maybe we could like do a video like that. And he's like, oh yeah, no, I know everyone. Sure, we can do a video. Like when you want to do it eventually. And then after a few kind of sort of, oh, do you want to do it? Well, I can't do it, I'm at uni, or I can't do it, I'm sleeping, or something like that. But eventually we did end up doing that video. So I ended up, like on Skype, of course. So I ended up, you know, like meeting and hearing Danny and like talking to Danny as well, also Super Jayain. And so we recorded this video about Gohan's role in Super. It ended up coming on YouTube maybe, I don't know exactly, like a few weeks later. But also that day was also the day I got introduced to like people like Qaaman's land. Because what happened was, after like once we finished recording that video, we were just kind of talking a bit, and then eventually we kind of got a call from Quinn, and in the end, Danny, and then to a later, because of that, me ended up in Qaaman's Land stream. Like this was, I checked it on Twitch. Doesn't look like Twitch archives it anymore, which is a real shame. I really wished, because I love archiving this stuff, I really wish I could have gotten a copy of that stream. But it was basically my first time being introduced to some of these guys. I was just on a random Skype conversation. I'd been talking to Danny, and then somehow I ended up in a stream for someone else I hadn't actually met personally before. Like, I was confused. I was really confused. And I'm just like, okay, so I'm in this stream right now. Oh, hello, I'm Gabby. I do things. We were doing a video. And I mean, I wonder if anyone saw that stream. If they did, if you guys saw that stream, tell me, because I really want to know that someone watched that, because it's hilarious. Because what that stream was basically like, firstly, me being really confused out of what was going on. And then eventually it was Danny, like, saying random obscure Dragon Ball facts for this Dragon Cup, which he was going to do. I'm not even sure if that's even still in the plans. But this, like, you know, Dragon Ball kind of quiz thing, doing these really obscure pieces of trivia, and me getting basically every single one of them right. Like that was my first impression to people like Quinn, and I guess probably to those people on the stream, that I'm this random person who has 2 X chromosomes and also also is very knowledgeable about Dragon Ball, and also came into the series recently, but is also knowledgeable about Dragon Ball. I mean, don't get me wrong, I want to be remembered for more than just that, but, you know, it was cool. It felt like I was, like, impressing everyone. I was impressing everyone with my depth of knowledge. I mean, yeah, although I know someone will probably, if someone's watching this, they will probably mention it, but yes, Jay says that he knew all the answers as well, but he just didn't say them because he wanted to give someone else a chance. So Jay, there you go, Super Jayain. That Jay. There's also Halcyon, who was also Jay, but that's another story. Around this time, I also got involved in the podcast. I'm realizing I don't think I ever actually plugged this, but did you guys know I am actually I'm a co-host on a Dragon Ball related podcast called Just Saiyan Stuff? basically what happened was I found this guy Adam Shaw on the Dragon Ball Z subreddit. He asked for a co-host for this potential podcast, and he wanted someone who lived around the Asia Pacific region. So because he lives in Japan, and so he wanted to find a co-host who they could do things without having to worry about crazy time zone differences. And I'm like, hey, I live in Australia. Australia's part of the Asian Pacific region. It's only about 1 to 2 hours different time zone difference from Japan. So I'm like, oh yeah, sure, I'll do a co-host for this podcast, and then that ended up happening. And we've actually been doing podcasts for ever since September. So we've gotten at least over 10 episodes of just random podcasts. Half of them are us just talking about the newest episodes of Super. And for him, it's interesting because he's actually watching it in Japanese because he lives in Japan and he knows Japanese. So he's watching it as it's actually airing. I'm watching with streams and with subtitles. But either way, we're watching that. And other than that, we also do other videos where we just kind of talk about random things like random characters, random plot events, random aspects of the fandom. And so if you guys are honestly really interested in getting into a random Dragon Ball podcast, which I'm a part of, I'll give you the link in the description. Go watch Just Saiyan Stuff. All 12 or however many episodes there are now. You don't have to watch every episode. Just watch whatever episode you feel like. But no, seriously. I'm in that podcast, so there you go. But in the meantime, I was just getting really, really excited the fact that I was actually... Basically, all the senpais had noticed me. I was suddenly part of the Dragon Ball Z YouTube community, inverted commas. I'd gotten people on Skype. I was in part of their conversations. When they were talking about things, I was there. They knew me. I knew them. They would talk about videos. And I got into a few other collabs. Although, in the end, they were only really with Danny. But it was just I was just really excited because, oh my god, there's, these guys... First of all, these guys are actually not as, dumb and annoying as I thought they were. Because, these videos, even if sometimes I don't really enjoy the kinds of videos they do, I suddenly, when hearing them talk, I understand why they're there. They do it because, sometimes for some of them, YouTube has now become a full-time job. And so sometimes, even if they don't even necessarily want to do these videos, they do these videos because their audience wants to see it, and it will give them... It'll be popular and people can talk about it and people do that and they can get their YouTube monies and stuff like that. Whereas for me, even nowadays, I've been doing this for a year, but I still kind of consider YouTube to be something I do for fun. I don't even think I've gotten a proper paycheck from it. So, and even if it is something not a lot of money, let's put it that way. I don't care about the money. I'm doing this because I have fun. And obviously that's not the case. I know some people, YouTube is a career. For me, that is still not the case. So through all that stuff, I met a whole bunch of people. Obviously, I met Danny, and obviously I met Jay, and obviously after that, I also met Quinn, who was honestly really nice, and who always seemed to really try and get me involved in things. So that was honestly I really appreciated that. And I obviously met other people Josh from Dragon Ball Nation, Mike from Laughing Stock Media. I'm sorry, I have to say the whole thing, right? And other Jay Hale Zeon as well, who was honestly really nice. Is not as much of an edgelord as people say he is. And there were even some other girls there, which also... So I ended up meeting Uncanny Megan. Megan is great. She's Megan is great. And also, although I don't think I've actually ever talked on Skype, but Maria, Miss DBZ Babe, and also kind of also Amber, Gamer Girl 54, although I haven't really talked to her personally that often, but I know she's there. So it was cool, even though it's I don't really have a niche and I'm not the only girl anymore, but it was oh, hey, there are other girls now. This is cool. And of course, there were some of the other guys who I haven't necessarily met on Skype or doing crazy or doing Dragon Ball Z collab videos or whatever, but people I've just met on Twitter and stuff. People who are just being really nice, who also do Dragon Ball Z YouTube videos, I mean. People the Frozen Particle, Real to Real, D-Free, DBZ HD, and just a whole bunch of people like that. But just because I knew why the Dragon Ball Z YouTubers made the videos that they made, didn't necessarily mean I still actually, enjoyed watching them. At this point, I was still doing my Dragon Ball Super reviews, and sometimes I was doing Q&A videos and and obviously reaction videos for things that are appropriate that came out. But I also started making a whole bunch more Dragon Ball Z related original YouTube, like original Dragon Ball Z content videos. And like now that I'm looking at them, they always felt like kind of sort of counterpoints to other videos that other people made, or just things that people in the fandom talked about. So obviously there was my Dragon Ball Misconceptions thing, where I basically just talked about all the in-universe issues people had from an out-of-universe perspective. But then I also had other things, like when people were talking about power levels all the time, and talking about Broly and talking about Broly's power level, I made a video talking about why Broly's power level, calculating Broly's power, is ridiculous because he is a movie villain and he can be as strong as the movie villain, like as strong as Toei wants him to be, so it does not have to be consistent in any way. If people made a video about why Chi-Chi was just such a bitch and such an annoying character, I made a video talking about like how that was kind of intentional and she was supposed to be intentionally annoying. Doesn't necessarily mean that she's a better character, but it does mean she is a consistently written one. And if people were just going around and complaining about why Vegeta didn't get the kill on Frieza in Resurrection F, and they were saying that's really annoying, I made a video talking about how Vegeta killing Frieza wouldn't actually fit in thematically with the rest of that movie. But I had other ideas for videos as well. At the beginning of July, or it seems to be like the 1st of July 2015, I actually had a dream where I know that sounds stupid and that sounds ridiculous, but I had a dream where I was talking about super modes and different super modes in the different forms of media. Basically, it was me reading from the TV tropes page on super mode and then kind of making that into a video. No, I'm not kidding. That was my dream. I did a post. I posted around my Tumblr and said, would anyone be interested in a video like that? Someone said yes, and I said, okay. That would be cool. And at that moment, it felt like everything in my life had been kind of leading up to that moment. Okay, maybe not everything in my life, but everything in my YouTube experience had been leading up to that one moment. Because TV Tropes is one of my favorite websites on the entire internet. I've been using it since 2011. It got me into Pretty Cure, and that probably got me into a whole bunch of other stuff, and it probably indirectly and probably directly contributed to my relation to Dragon Ball. And so, TV tropes is something that I just really love. I guess you could say I'm a bit of a troper. I'm one of those people who just really love sort of story and formula and looking at things and seeing like, this reminds me of this thing, but not in a cynical way, but in a sort of like, oh, that's really cool. These guys are like kind of like similar. This story, this archetype is kind of similar. This arc has the same formula as this arc. So, for me, like one of the reasons I liked Dragon Ball in the first place is that you can look at Dragon Ball and kind of see the template for the entire shonen genre in just this one thing. So thinking about doing a series about the tropes of Dragon Ball and in how they're used in other shonen material, like it was something that it felt like for me, it was one of the things that I loved about Dragon Ball in the first place. So it's like, this is a series I feel like I was made to do. I need to do this, and I was so excited to get started on it. So that led to Tropes Shonen and Dragon Ball. I've done 5 episodes of it so far, and I'm still really enjoying it. Honestly, like once we get to about episode 7, I'm not entirely sure of what to keep doing about it, because things have kind of logically led up to another, from like one trope to another, and now it's just going to be like, I don't really know, but I'm still going to do it. I'm not going to run out of tropes, really, I'm not. And it's a series that, like, even though it doesn't get as many views and sometimes as many likes or really as shares that I really want it to, it's a series that either way, it doesn't really matter because it's a series I just really want to do. On the other hand, maybe one day, like a few years later, when I have better sort of editing software and I can actually do it a little bit more professionally, I might revisit this series again because I like some of the stuff I said. Obviously, some of my video editing is like, I only have iMovie and my face cam. There's not really as much as I can do with it. So sometimes I wish I could make it a little bit more professional. And it's basically that. But, either way, it's a series I've loved doing and it's great and I enjoy doing it. And it's something that I feel like kind of makes me stand out, even if it's not the most popular videos on my channel. But it's something that I really like doing and I definitely want to keep doing. Honestly, with the introduction of Tropes Shonen and Dragon Ball, I feel like my channel sort of reached I guess you could say the same sort of formula, the same sort of videos that I'm sort of still doing nowadays. I do my Team 4-star reactions, I do my reviews of the episodes of Dragon Ball Super, I do my trope shonen and Dragon Ball when I have time and when I can get it all ready. And sometimes I do random other Dragon Ball Z videos that I try to make sure are videos that no one else has done, and videos that I just really enjoy doing, and videos that I feel like would be educational for other people to watch. Things kind of started to change when the overall opinion of Dragon Ball Super went from cautiously optimistic to more just trying to cautiously things will get better to, hey, this series actually kind of sucks. And to be honest, like, I know why that happens, and I know that Dragon Ball Super has a lot of issues. But I have always tried to be the person who tries to be a bit more reasonable and doesn't want to just go around and just jump into mindless bashing that the entire series is terrible because some animation looks bad or some other story plot element doesn't make sense or some things that aren't explained shouldn't be explained. I mean, don't get me wrong, I'm not a blind defender of Dragon Ball Super's flaws. I'm just the kind of person that I realize when I do my reviews, I don't want to go around and spend 10 minutes talking about why one plot element is actually terrible or why this piece of animation is actually terrible. Keep in mind I'm not trying to call out anyone. Like, seriously, of the people who make reviews of Dragon Ball Super that are overly negative at some points, like say, yeah, hail Zeon. I mean, I totally understand where they come from, and I totally understand why they say that it makes sense to be critical about Super and talk about how Super sucks. What I don't agree with is people saying that maybe I am censoring myself and that I'm actually giving them a free ride, which is not true. I know Dragon Ball Super is not a perfect series, but I don't go around and watch perfect series in the first place. I started watching anime. I started watching the crappiest anime I could think of, me and my cousin. We would go around and look for the crappiest anime we could find and watch it and have fun with it. Not even just making fun of how ridiculous it is, because we did that as well, but also sometimes we got to watch things where sometimes it was surprisingly good and it was wow, holy crap, this was actually good, and it suddenly made it all worth it. So yeah, maybe that's probably why I don't go overly negative on my Super reviews. The next big thing happened to me when someone got into contact with me, and that was MJ, or GeekLister. Now that I'm thinking about it, I've never actually plugged any of his videos on my YouTube channel before, but he is, so he contacted me on YouTube. He asked if he could help, if I could be guest star on one of his podcasts. I said yes. We ended up doing 2 podcasts at first because we did one and then the audio didn't work, so then we did another one and he uploaded it, and at that point we ended up becoming sort of close acquaintances, like YouTube, Skype buddies, friends, whatever. We just kind of, sometimes I get a guest star in some of his videos and they're basically just us literally talking about whatever the hell we feel like, but it always generally comes back to anime and Dragon Ball at some point. So if you ever wanted to watch videos of me totally unscripted, just talking about literally everything to do with anime, including other anime, there was one time when we did a video where we just talked about Hunter x Hunter. In fact, there were 2 videos where we talked about Hunter x Hunter, or maybe more. We've been talking about Hunter x Hunter a lot. But so yeah, you guys should totally go and watch GeekLister. Go to his videos, and don't just watch the videos that have me in them, because he does videos with other people as well. Shameless plugs! Shameless plugs! Shameless plugs for everyone! You guys want your shameless plugs? Get your free shameless plugs here. Just all for your low price of $5.99. I am joking. It doesn't actually cost anything. That was a really bad joke. Sorry. Then my channel reached a bit of a low point in the middle of December. In the middle of December, due to kind of copyright strikes, Team 4-Star got a lot of their episodes taken down from YouTube. And pretty much because sort of my moral integrity, I took down my reactions because I thought, if the episodes have been taken down from YouTube, if I keep my reactions up and they have the entire video up, that's basically basically people trying to bypass YouTube's copyright system by just having a video on YouTube that is not actually allowed to be on YouTube. So I took them down and my channel growth went to shit. So yeah, no, I'll be completely honest here. When I got rid of my reaction videos, pretty much everyone stopped finding my channel because, whether I like it or not, these Team 4-Star reactions are where a lot of people found my videos. Not necessarily from my Dragon Ball Z videos or anything else. They found them from my Team 4-Star reactions. So when I took them down, even if they were for a moral reason that made me feel good, the fact that because I took them down, not only some people have actually people unsubscribed to me, and also no one's found my channel anymore, So that kind of made me feel a little bit depressed. Realizing that my biggest contributor, no matter how much time and effort I put into my other videos, my biggest contributor to my success is always going to be my Team 4-star reactions, where all I do is sit in front of a screen and react to something and then put it in the corner of the video. Something that does not take much effort at all. I mean, I'll be honest, guys. If I could find success out of things that weren't my Team 4-star reactions, that would be really, really great. Because, yeah, don't get me wrong, I love doing my Team 4-star reactions because I love Dragon Ball Z Abridged, but especially nowadays with all the controversy over reaction videos and, whether they're just stealing content and whether they should be legal and all these problems and whether we should get permission from the original authors and whether it's legal, again, I'll be honest, it's a bit of a shame having the fact that my biggest contributor to my channel is something that sometimes I don't enjoy uploading because it makes me feel a bit guilty. At the end of the day, I am like one of the biggest, massive Team 4-star fans ever. And I want to help contribute to their success any way I can. I don't want to be responsible for stealing the success away from them. I mean, I'm sort of profiting off their, I'm not profiting because I'm not making money off reaction videos, but I'm sort of getting benefited from their success. I'm getting success from their success, but I don't want to steal any of their success. And that was the kind of moral dilemma that I'd been thinking about through December and through later on after there was all those videos about how reaction videos are bad and everyone should stop doing them and people should just flame everyone who does reaction videos and leave nasty comments and blah 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 blah. Luckily, that controversy has died down a little bit, although it will probably come back up again the next time there's an episode of Team 4-star and there are like 5 gajillion reactions of it. But I'll be completely honest, those 2 weeks where I took down some of my most popular videos, I just took them down from YouTube, it made me realize that I wish I could have found something that I could do that would also give me success, but would also not rely on taking other people's content. Luckily, there has been some other nice stuff that's been going on. A few months ago, I did a video about why Android 16's death made Gohan turn Super Saiyan 2. It was kind of one of my first in-universe videos, besides another speculation video about maybe Gohan will start training after Resurrection F in Super, which did end up being the case, which was really surprised me because it was the first speculation video I ever did, and it was the first speculation video I ever did, and it was actually ended up being kind of right. But either way, so I did this one video, which was, it was kind of a little bit different because it was somewhat more in-universe, and either way, I got a really nice positive response for it. So, also, just so you guys know, another scene analysis video is pretty much finished, and it will be coming pretty soon. I'd say within the week. So, look forward to that because I'm really proud of that video, and I hope you guys like it. But now we've kind of gone on to the present day where it's what I do on YouTube is pretty much the same. Dragon Ball Super reviews, Team 4-star reactions, sometimes occasionally reactions to other abridged series, and now just also random Dragon Ball Z videos and random also other videos that aren't related to Dragon Ball Z whenever they come into my mind. So pretty much that's my 1 year YouTube experience. Now that I really think about it, a year compressed, even that was a year and really there wasn't that much that was that eventful. It was more just me making videos, me kind of getting a bit more successful, and me kind of meeting some new people who I know nowadays. But obviously 1 year is a big milestone, so I just need to say, just before we go, I'm going to do some special thanks. First of all, to all the Dragon Ball Z YouTube guys. Especially to Danny, to Geekdom 101, because he was the one who kind of got me on the map, to be honest. And now a lot of people know who I am, and a lot of people know my videos, and the fact that a lot of people who are going around and asking me for collabs, or asking me for opinions on things, and just asking me in general, and just be like, hey, why don't we just talk or whatever, and it's really nice, and I honestly do owe a lot to all of you guys for giving me a chance, and not just being like, who's this silly girl who thinks she can barge in on our Dragon Ball Z men's club. The second big thanks needs to go to all of the resources and all of the resources and forums and places where I frequent, where I get a lot of this information, and I just find a lot of people to talk about things. First, I'm going to say thanks to the Pretty Cure Live Journal community, because you guys were first real big anime fandom, which I ended up being a part of, and I've been part of that thing since about 2013. And so you guys are really great, and you guys have been giving me giving me a lot of information about Pretty Cure, even if some of you guys are obviously a lot younger and some of you guys don't know as much, but there are some people there who know a lot, and I've learned a lot from you guys. But now on to the Dragon Ball communities. First, definitely I've got to have a massive thanks to Kanzenshu. Kanzenshu.com is literally the best place for any sort of Dragon Ball information at all. Unless it's just really exclusively related to the English dub. It is the best source of Dragon Ball. It's the best source of Dragon Ball information, like no question asked. If you want to know anything about Dragon Ball, you go to Kanzenshu. Even if the site doesn't have what you're looking for, the people of the forums definitely know their stuff. Don't get me wrong, sometimes they get it on my nerves, sometimes because they can be overly cynical about literally everything, and sometimes they can just get a bit annoying and just arguments and whatever. And although now I have my account verified so I can say things as well, but either way, Kanzenshu, everyone there, as well as Vegito EX, Sai Jedi, Hugio, and Herms, all of you guys do so much great stuff for the fandom. You guys just contribute so much good stuff to the community, and you seriously need more thanks, because obviously a lot of the dub fans don't seem to know you. The sub fans all know you, but the dub fans don't. Either way, everyone, just go to Kanzenshu. Just go to Kanzenshu, spend 2 days there, go through all their articles. That's how I got my information, pretty much. That's how I became so highly educated. I went on Kanzenshu. Seriously, that's kind of just the only reason. Next up will have to be the DBZ subreddit. I know some people joke that all the Dragon Ball YouTubers just take video ideas and just steal them from Reddit, and I've only really seen one case of that actually full-on actually happening, to someone else, and it's also kind of happened to me, only that one time with the misconception about who was supposed to be the main character. But either way, the subreddit is really great. Obviously, once again, it has some really annoying people who don't know what they're talking about, and people who just get into flame wars for no apparent reason. But there also are some really great people, and people who just really just go out of their way to help. So obviously, everyone who's in the subreddit knows this, but special thanks needs to go to Emma Winters, who is just amazing at just getting quick responses to everyone and helping them in any way they can. And big thanks to Emma, because she is just a really great mod and a really great giving out information and helping other people. Even the people who just seem really ignorant, she's always there to go and give them advice. And the final information source thanks will probably go to the Dragon Ball TV Tropes Forum. The Dragon Ball TV Tropes Forum and the Dragon Ball Z Abridged TV Tropes Forum, because I've been a part of that forum for a while. If you guys don't know, my username isn't Mozilla Vulpix, but if you guys go on there, you'll probably work out who I am. It's pretty obvious. But either way, you guys are all really great. First of all, you were that forum is one of the few places in all of the Dragon Ball fandom where we can talk about portrayal of women and not have someone immediately try to shut the conversation down. So that's really great. People are just can make really funny comments, and it's just this place we can just talk about literally anything about Dragon Ball, and it can just spiral into a conversation about anything. Also, they're one of the few places that hate power levels just as much as I do. And in there, special thanks has to go to Saiga, who is probably one of the most knowledgeable Dragon Ball fans in terms of in-universe stuff that I have ever met. Probably, Saiga is probably more knowledgeable than than some of the Dragon Ball YouTubers. I don't know who they actually are. Saiga is just that, their username. I know they are on the TV Tropes forum, and they're also on the Kanzenshu forums, but literally on those TV Tropes forums, we call him Pope Saiga for a reason. Saiga will always come in and give the answers and give the truth, which is kind of ridiculous. Even if I don't always agree on him with some things, say Resurrection F. I can't believe I almost forgot about this, but also, of course, definitely, Team 4-Star, just all of you guys, and especially, of course, the three main writers, Takahata 101, Lanny Bator, and Kaiser Neko, as well as everyone else, Kieran and Grant, and all the other voice actors, and everyone there. Yes, I am aware that a lot of my success really, in the end, comes down to you. But then again, also, the fact that I got into Dragon Ball Z in the first place, also, in the end, comes down to you. So basically everything I've done kind of comes down to you. So of course I'm thankful for that. And no, seriously, I am so glad you guys created this series. I have had so much fun with it. and now I just want to share that experience with everyone else. And of course, the final thanks needs to go to every single one of you guys who are watching this video. I mean, first of all, because it shows that you've actually gotten to the end, and it's probably going to be a very long video, so that's pretty great. Thank you guys for watching this entire video. And second of all, just because, you know, if it weren't for you guys, I probably wouldn't have kept doing this. I'll be completely honest. Don't get me wrong, I loved doing those reaction videos, but that would have just been all I would have ever done if I thought that I didn't have an audience. Because, I mean, yeah, if I would not have done these random vlogs if I hadn't gotten subscribers and views and people commenting on my videos in the first place. Because I don't want to just throw everything out in the ether if I know that absolutely no one will watch it. But even if there's just one person who watches it, who likes my video even though they watch the entire thing, and who comments on it saying that they want to see more and they love it, you have no idea how much that means to someone. Like, seriously, this is the internet after all. When I started this, I thought all I was going to get was demeaning comments about my gender and saying, Gabby, you need to show your tits or else I'm not going to subscribe to you. That is what I thought was going to happen. That really didn't happen. Like, I am honestly surprised for 3,500 subscribers. My fan base is surprisingly, really, you guys are just so great. You guys don't go around and make stupid flame wars or make stupid comments or, you know, pay off other people. You guys are even nice to each other in the comments for most of the time. Like, that's ridiculous. You guys are amazing. Like, seriously, I cannot stress how great you are, because I know there are like so many like big YouTubers who probably have these fan bases that just, you know, full on like cancerous and toxic and they hate each other, and it's to the point, you know, no one even wants to go to the comment section because the comment section is awful. But you guys make reading the comment section worthwhile. I mean, besides the people who keep telling me to react to One Punch Man, you guys are great, and you just make making videos worthwhile. Like, I know that sounds really cliche, and you've probably heard it 1,000 times before, but it's just so true. Thank you all so much for sticking with me this entire time. Because I know there are some people who have subscribed to me from my first reaction video and have been subscribed to me this entire time. I know who you guys are. I know who you guys are. So, thank you. Just thank you so much. And I've been talking for so long that my voice has started to hurt. My throat has started to hurt, but I don't care, because this was my sort of 1 year of YouTube special, and this was just everything I needed to say, and I think I've gotten everything. So everyone here, make sure, you know, go to that little video description. That's probably going to take me a while because I have to link all that stuff that I kept talking about this entire time. But either way, go to that video description. Maybe go look at my other videos. Look at my older videos. I mean, they're not good. I'm going to tell you, my older videos are not good because I did not know how to edit. But on the other hand, you know, things there, I don't really regret any of the stuff that I said. So either way, just go around, and it's been a year, it's been a great journey, and I am just so thankful that I've been managing, that I could share this journey with you guys. So thank you all so much. This is Gabby, signing out, and goodbye, guys.